a sense of numbness comes over you because you're living in the shock and disbelief of what's actually happening to you. Up until that point, I've been very healthy. So I think initially there is an element of denial, if not denial, but a sense of numbness. You haven't quite taken it on board yet.
And my very special guest today is Andrew E. Pearce, independent artist, singer, songwriter, composer, vocal arranger, educator. Born and raised in England, Andrew has won numerous gospel teen music talent awards in the UK. He's worked with Grammy Award-winning music producers such as Trevor Horn, who worked with Seal, LeAnn Rimes, Bob Marley, Tina Turner, to name a few. Trevor Horn also produced songs for Andrew's very first album with Universal Polydor Records. Today, my guest will share how he has overcome the emotional and physical challenges of what would have otherwise led him down a dark path of depression, anxiety, and hopelessness. When we think of healthy choices, generally we associate this with food and exercise. Some of us link healthy choices as using other elements to think preventive. My very special guest today is an example of bravery, mental stamina, and resilience, a two-time cancer survivor. Here to inspire us with his story is singer-songwriter, recording artist, Andrew E. Pearce. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show today. It's a pleasure, always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you on the show. When you were first diagnosed, how did it hit you? What was the very first thing that crossed your mind? And what crucial choices did you make at that moment, Andrew?
I was completely unaware that I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The only symptoms I had was losing weight, losing energy. I was currently working on my first debut album with Universal in Switzerland, I believe it was. And it was my music manager that noticed a lump on the side of my neck. And from that, he advised me the minute we get back to England to have it checked out. So when I did find out, it was a big shock, completely unexpected. I was just about to embark on my musical career, my musical future. Things were just taking off. And then I was hit with a diagnosis. So choices were, do I completely stop recording? Do I focus solely on my health and put the music to one side? Or do I continue to do music in some shape or form in order to help myself be focused? I definitely chose the route of continuing to do what I love to do because it was a passion of mine. It gave me focus, and that's all I've ever known. Brought up in church, always wanted to sing, always have been singing, and that's what I hoped I could continue to do. It's about embracing the gifts that God has given us in order to heal ourselves, but not only ourselves, but to help heal others as well in the process. It was a process where even though I just had surgery, I was determined to get back into the studio. I'm a very determined person, and I think I've learned that about myself through what I've been through, that if you've got the mind and the will and the mindset to be determined, it is amazing what you can actually achieve. And here I am, 8-9 songs later, down with the album, which will be released soon. It isn't an easy road, and I'd be lying, I'd be fabricating if I said it was an easy road. But always live in hope, always live in expectation that things will get better. Try your best to live a life that is fulfilled, a life that is full of purpose, and a life that you are happy with, because that is part of the healing. That is part of what will help you get through this situation. For me, it was music. Through me, it was writing. And that's what helped me get through. My faith and my writing got me through. Hold on in there, because sometimes also when you go through these difficult times, at the other end of that, you'll be there to offer hope to others too.
And when you were diagnosed the second time, did you ever stop to think, this means I have limited time? What am I going to do with this limited time?
That's a really good question, because initially a sense of numbness comes over you because you're living in the shock and disbelief of what's actually happening to you. You know, up until that point, I've been very healthy. So I think initially there is an element of denial, if not denial, but a sense of numbness. You haven't quite taken it on board yet. But once the treatment for my leukemia had started, I really dug deep into my faith and into my love for music. And I was determined to allow that to be my motivation, my stimulus, in order not just to get better, but to express myself, express what I was going through the music. I had the opportunity, because I was actually recuperating, so I had a bit of time in order to write new music. I had the time to pray and meditate and be inspired in order to write new music, like My King, like Under My Wings, like Whispering. These are all songs that are about my own personal experiences of being ill, desperately ill, but determined to fight and to get better. And not only to get better, but to live in purpose. I've had two surgeries. I've had surgery in the first illness with lymphoma, and the second time. The second time was actually connected to my vocal area, the mouth vocal area. So it not only was it something that was life-threatening, but it was also threatening my ministry, my gift, which is my voice. And I tell you, I was questioning God. I had a lot of questions. Why me again? And why the area of my physicality that is so connected to the voice? And I think when you go through something like cancer, or something that is life-threatening, or maybe life-shortening, you do philosophize, you do question your mortality, and you do think to yourself, it's so important to live a life that is fulfilling, and purposeful. And I think that is what encouraged me this second time around in order to release new music, which is what I'm doing right now. Reminding people that yes, things will get tough, things will get hard, but never give up, because there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. You may not be able to see it right now, but my faith has taught me that you must pursue your dreams, pursue your purpose, even through difficult times. In fact, even in the most difficult times, that is the best and most vital time to pursue your purpose. And as I said that, it started to thunder. But it's all about connecting with the senses. Part of the reason I do music and my vision for what I do, it is to remind people sometimes to slow down, because life can be difficult. I've had my knocks. I've had several illnesses and situations that were out of my control, and I always revert back to music because I get so much consolation from that. My faith in God and my music are two things that are so intertwined. And my vision is to give people hope, and through my music, through singing, through my spirit, and we talked about vibrations, musical vibrations, through singing from my spirit, which is my vibration, I somehow want to impart that to my listeners.
What about having to cope with change of life events and the choices that we may have?
There are other more healthy, more spiritually uplifting ways to deal with issues and deal with problems in life than turning to alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be, sex addiction, whatever it may be you're dealing with. I think there are a lot more healthier ways of dealing with them, but it's finding it, because that's not always what puts itself in front of you first. You may want to run to the drugs, you may want to run to the alcohol, but that is not the best way out. It may seem the easiest, but in the long run, it causes more issues.
You once described different outlets or ways of coping as crutches.
Where they believe or they need a bit of escapism in order to deal with them. But I'm a firm believer in these crutches eventually end up being more of an issue. That becomes the problem. That becomes your bondage in itself. Life can be a distraction, and you often lose that. You forget what you're here to do. That it's important not to get too distracted by life and to focus on what gives you purpose. Because it can become a poor quality choice in living in that depression, living in that dark place. For me personally, my faith helps me a lot with that. With my singing, when I'm in that place, I put my music on and I sing, I let everything out. I battle with it and I let things out. That works for me. For some, it's dancing. I think for you, it may be dancing.
Yes.
Many of us haven't tapped into it as
Exactly.
much as we ought to, and that's why it takes things like neuroscientists to explain the effect that's having on us in the physical realm and the spiritual realm. I really believe that.
Always maintaining that child spirit.
Yes. I thought I lost it, but it's still there.
It's still there. Oh, yes,
Still there.
absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
Andrew, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you. God bless and take care.